let's... Oh, hi there. My name is Philip Scorza, and I'd like to welcome you to our show, Points of Interest. I was just greeting one of our fellow road hogs here. Anyway, we are traveling west on California Highway 126, heading towards the town of Santa Paula, where we are going to take a tour of the Union Oil Museum. The Union Oil Museum is a fascinating place. It will tell us how we can find oil in the ground, how we can take it out of the ground, how we can refine it, send it to market. The building itself is quite historical. It's over 100 years old, and it happens to be the place where the papers of incorporation were signed for a company named Unocal. We're also going to tell the story about two men, Lyman Stewart and Wallace D. Hardison. These are the two men that started the Union Oil Company, and in fact they started business in Titusville, Pennsylvania. In 1859, Titusville, Pennsylvania was the site of the first successful oil well. It was drilled there, and Lyman Stewart actually came from right around Titusville, and he was always fascinated by oil, and he wanted to make his living in oil and discover oil and that sort of thing. So he partnered up with Wallace D. Hardison, and the two men came out west, and they set up shop in Newhall, actually. They took out some leases on some land, which would be at the end of Lyons Avenue, what is now called Pico Canyon. And they drilled and they drilled and they drilled, and they finally did hit one gusher there. They were bought out, and then they came west to Santa Paula, where they set up business and became rather successful. Anyway, we're going to have a nice tour of the place and see what they have to offer there, so why don't you come on along with us, okay? If this guy will get out of my way. I'd like to introduce Mr. George Pagan. George, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, and I'm glad to see you guys here.
Well, we're glad to be here. George is going to show us around the various displays they have here, starting with, what is this, George?
Well, this is a time clock, and we give everybody a souvenir time card that when they come in here, and if you'll punch the button down there.
Push this button here?
That button there, you get an end time and a date on your card.
Oh, very good.
You clock out when you leave if you like.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. George begins by showing us photographs of the three men who started Union Oil Company. That's Lyman Stewart in the center, Thomas Bard on the left, and Wallace Hardison on the right. If you are a chemist, you might understand all of these things. George tells me they are a combination of carbon and hydrogen that make oil. Since I'm not a chemist, we move on. Now this is a display that shows us the kind of oil that comes out of the earth. It goes all the way from this dark material, like this heavy tarry stuff on the left, to this water white, which is like gasoline. That's right, oil actually comes out of the earth looking like this. Now the key word here is lubricity, the slickness of oil. Turn the wheel on the right and we get friction. It's not lubricated. Now try the wheel on the left. Feel how smooth that works? That's why we use oil. The squeaky wheel gets the oil. Now let's learn a little about the geology of oil. George starts by showing us core samples. This is what the drillers have brought to the surface. Here's some more stuff pulled from the earth in California. Take a look at these shark's teeth. They come from Shark's Tooth Mountain up by Bakersfield. All of these things show us the different geologic ages. Now these look to me like clamshells. They were embedded in hunks of earth. Feel how smooth they are? Here are some more samples of clamshells and creatures that came out of the ocean that covered this part of the earth. There's another core of petrified wood that's been sawed in two here. And amber.
Remember Jurassic Park? Remember how they found dinosaur DNA in amber? Well, here is an insect found in amber. Now let's take a look at this drilling display. The Kelly, which is that tall pipe, is going down, drilling into the earth. And the hose or mud line pumps a liquid-like mud through the Kelly to bring the cuttings back out. Now this model shows us a pumping unit. The horse head at the top pumps up and down, up and down, up and down to bring the oil from the earth. Here we see some drill bits actually used. The one at the top is called a fishtail. These others are rotary cone bits where the teeth go around. As the pipe turns, the bit turns. They've set up an old-time gas station display, reminiscent of years gone by, to show how the Union Oil Company markets their products. Now we are going to look at the only commercial Marilyn Monroe ever made. First, we see 4 guys pushing Marilyn's car into a Union Oil station. Her car, which she calls Cynthia, is something she wants to take good care of. Put Royal Triton into Cynthia's little tummy, she purrs to the ever-eager attendant. Later, before its merger with Union Oil, the great comedian Buster Keaton did a commercial for Pure Oil Company. They have this lovely courtyard between the 2 buildings at the Union Oil Museum. Now we're going to step into the second building where they have set up a complete oil drilling rig. Come on along.
George is putting a little oil in the machine here. This is an actual drilling rig that has been used up Sespe Canyon, I guess. Sure, come on, let's go take a look at this.
Point out some things. The steam engine, this starts here with the boiler.
Okay.
Steam goes through the pipe over here down into the piston that operates it. Notice the valve mechanism, the eccentrics that operate the valves that make the steam piston go back and forth. And can you hear me now? Notice the loop here. This loop through this lever can be changed by the driller clear up on the rig floor, and what it does is what I'm going to do right now. See that it moves it up like that? It goes all the way to the other end. It reverses the rotation of the steam engine. And so the driller has complete control over speed and direction of rotation, so he can do anything with this steam engine. And as we go on down through here,
okay.
You see some of the things that it operates. One of them here is interesting, is the sand reel. The sand reel has a cable that goes out of it and goes down into the well when they want to take the cuttings out of the hole. And notice the band wheel. This big wheel here is called the band wheel. And the band wheel has a crank on it that operates the walking beam, and that actually does the drilling. As we'll see in a little bit here, we'll look at a video that shows how the drill operates. This is running real slow and just shows the motions that it goes through. The derrick originally was 84 feet tall, and in a little bit we'll show you what was on top of it, the crown block and the top of the derrick.
Okay.
What happens here is that the driller would sit on that stool that it has 3 levels there. Right. He'd sit on top of it and he'd feel that thing go up and down. And he could tell when the drill bit was hitting bottom and not throwing slack in the line, and he would adjust it that way with the temper screw. When he drilled the temper screw down, he'd pull the tools out of the hole and run the baler in with the sand reel and take the cuttings out of the hole and start the whole process over again. And we'll see that on the video.
How far down could he dig before he had to stop and then pull all the cuttings out?
About, he'd make about 4 or 5 feet maybe.
Okay.
And then he'd have to bail.
That's the length of that screw. What'd you call that long thing?
The temper screw.
The temper screw?
And what they do is they keep water in the hole, so that what is in the bottom of the hole is a slurry of the cuttings that the drill bit It cuts up out of whatever's going through, dirt, rock, or whatever.
I'm just curious now, when you see the picture of the oil gushing out, you know, when they've actually struck oil, does it come out of the hole where that rope is there?
That's right.
That's it?
That's where it would come out, yeah. Don't do that anymore, though.
No, I hope not.
Began to drill for oil in the canyons and mountains around Santa Paula. They used a cable rig, exactly like the one on display in this building. The cable rig was a steam-powered refinement of one of the earliest methods of drilling for oil, the spring pole. Relays of men and boys kicked the pole down, causing the bit to hammer its way through underground layers of rock. The Hardison and Stewart Oil Company, later to become Union Oil Company of California, fashioned the heavy steel tools for the cable rigs in their own shop right here in town. Teams of horses and mules hauled the machinery to the drilling site, along with lumber to build the derrick. Cable rigs seldom drilled very deep, but they were very effective to 2,000 or 3,000 feet, where most oil was found up until the 1920s. The principle was simple. A walking beam balanced on a post moves up and down. Attached to the beam is a rope or a cable running through a block at the top of the derrick and down into the hole where the heavy steel bit is attached. As the bit is lifted and dropped, it pounds its way through the sand and rock. Periodically, the bit is pulled and a baler removes the cuttings from the hole. When the well was completed, the derrick was left in place and the drilling bit was replaced by a pump to bring the oil from the ground into storage tanks and pipelines. In 1909, Howard Hughes Sr., founder of the Hughes Tool Company, introduced the modern version of the rotary bit. This new technology revolutionized drilling for oil. Instead of pounding up and down like the spring pole or the old cable rig bit, the rotary bit revolves as its sharp cutters grind their way through underground formations. Where the cable rig might make 60 feet of hole in a day, a rotary rig can sometimes make up to 2,000 feet or more. The rotary bit is attached to a string of drill pipe. This pipe is attached in turn to a square or hexagonal bar called a kelly. The kelly, suspended from a block at the top of the tower, fits inside a matching hole in a round table on the floor of the rig. As the table turns, the kelly turns, rotating the drill string and the rotary bit. To lubricate the bit and flush out the cuttings, a mix of clay, liquids, and chemicals called drilling mud is injected into the hole under high pressure. Rotary drills brought in some of the most spectacular gushers in history, until drillers found a way to control their discoveries with blowout preventers. Today's rotary rig is a complex machine run by sophisticated controls and highly skilled crews. Modern drillers with electronic aids to monitor their progress are able to drill holes with great precision. With a rotary rig, they can reach down 4 miles or more in the search for oil and natural gas. But with all the advantages of advanced technology, drillers today still owe their beginnings to the men of yesterday, the colorful pioneers who started it all with their wooden derricks and cable rigs.
We're standing on the outside of the building here. George, want to tell us about this?
Well, the building was built originally by Union Oil Company. It was built in 1889 and 90, and at that time was the second largest commercial building in Ventura County. One of the few built in that era that's still under the same ownership. The building is a combination of two types of architecture. The upstairs is Queen Anne, English type, tall, narrow windows and the fancy brickwork. And the lower story shows Italian influence, and some of the things that I see on the lower story are these dark green pillars that you see up on the front of the building. They're hollow cast iron. And in the main hall, the tall white pillars that you see in there are also hollow cast iron. The building was completely restored and brought up to modern earthquake standards in 1989 and 90. And one of the things that helped them with the earthquake stabilization was the cement floor that was poured between the two levels, and the big cement structure that has the 3 walk-in safes in this building in it, and also the stairway that we're going to go up.
Well, shall we go in and take a look at it?
Yeah. Okay, as you go up the stairway, notice the wainscoting. It's intricate carpenter work. The angles match the angle of the stairway. all the oak wood and all the oak doors that you'll see on the upstairs tour came around the horn as logs, and they were milled here on the site, and the doors were manufactured, and the handrails. Handrails are original, they're over 100 years old. The original stairway was painted. The carpeting that you see in the building as you go through was all manufactured for the restoration. It's colors and patterns that would have been used in the 1890s, but the original building had a painted wood stairway, painted floors in the back offices, and linoleum floors in the front offices, and we'll see one linoleum floor as we go around upstairs.
All right, let's go.
I'd like to point out a couple of things on the old photograph that we have here. 5 bay windows on this building and 5 chimneys on the roof. Chimneys, by the way, are reinforced. They won't fall off on the sidewalk. Notice this little this thing here in the lower left-hand corner of the photograph. This is a hitching rail. It's still on the street. It's on that corner of the building over there.
So when you bring your horse up, you can tie it to the hitching rail.
And notice that this is one area in the building that has a skylight. Obvious reason, no outside wall exposure.
Right.
And as we go on around into the next room,
Lead the way, go ahead. We'll follow you.
we'll be going past this old telephone instrument, which is 1922 telephone switchboard. It came from Union Oil Company's offices at Orchid, California.
Okay, now I wanted to find out whose offices these are here.
Well, the only one of the 3 original people that had an office in this building was Wallace Hardison. Mr. Stewart lived in the Los Angeles area, and Mr. Bard lived at Hueneme. The Bard Mansion, by the way, at Hueneme is the officers' club at the CB base now.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, okay.
It is. This is the second area in the building that has skylight. Obvious reason, again, no outside wall exposure. It has a window, though, a pay window. And
This is the pay window I read about.
This is the pay window.
Okay.
That where mission transfers people would come and get their pay.
Now, is this where the employees also got paid too?
Yes.
Okay. Right.
Well, Union Oil's employees.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah.
I don't know where they got paid.
Oh.
After it became Union Oil Company. See, there were 5 companies
Right.
that got together to be Union Oil Company. 3 oil companies and Mission Transfer and the Santa Paula Hardware Company. Now, Mission Transfer Company sounds like it was furniture movers, but it isn't. Their business was moving crude oil and refined products. That's why they were included.
Oh, okay.
Santa Paula Hardware sold everything from fine china to oil field equipment. And Union Oil Company had their own foundries and their own shops here. And they manufactured oil field equipment not only for their own use, but for other oil companies, and they sold it to them through the Santa Paula Hardware Company.
I think I read, because I read about this, were there like 100 people worked up here? So how many people worked up in all of these, the second floor?
I imagine that there were probably about 35 people up here at one time. I don't think any more than that. But then at that time, everything downstairs was offices too, except the main room.
Ah, I see. Okay.
And that's where the museum, the original museum was just that one main hall downstairs.
Okay, so what are we going to see next?
Okay, this is the smallest room in the upstairs. And this is the office that was used by the original corporate secretary, Mr. Alexander Waldy. And of course, he had no faxes and no telephones originally, and no electric lights, no copy machines.
Right.
He did a lot of things by longhand. Now, are you interested in seeing something like this?
Oh,
This is
the record books here, huh?
This is a record book, and they made copies of longhand letters that I guess you would moisten this paper and put it on the inks they used in those days, and it would copy onto this
Oh, so this is a way of making
onion skin sheet. This is the way they made a copy of it. And the beautiful handwriting, these people really practiced their handwriting, I guess. And of course, they didn't have the typewriters. Later on, he got a typewriter. And in 1890, a typewriter was the man that ran the machine, not the machine.
Not the machine, that ran the man. Okay. I think it's important to note that there's a dictionary on the desk here, too.
Oh.
Anyway, we're going in here.
This next room is the boardroom, and there are some very interesting things in here. You see here old share certificates for 2 of the oil companies that became Union Oil Company. One of them is SB Oil and one of them is Hardison Stewart. And
Is this the room where the papers of incorporation were actually
yes,
signed?
they were actually signed, I understand, on a round table in this tower, a table similar to that, not this one. There's only one office in the upstairs that has the original furniture in it. Now, I'll point that out as we go around. But that is similar to it. Now, this is the first room where we see the fireplaces, and every office has a fireplace. As we go around, we'll notice that the mantelpieces are all different, and the tiles around the fireplace are all different.
I'm curious, what did they burn in the fire?
These fireplaces are shallow. They were made originally to burn coal.
Oh, okay.
When I worked here in the building, each one of them had a gas stove in it.
Ah.
And
Wait a minute, George, I didn't know you worked here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you worked here too?
I had an office in this building for 17 years before I retired from Union Oil Company. Would you believe?
Yes, I would believe.
That's one reason that I know a bunch
That's
of
how you
things
had
about this building.
Will we see your office in the tour? Or?
Sure.
Oh, okay. Where are we going from here?
Well, we can go in here, and remember I mentioned the linoleum floor?
Oh, right.
This next room we go into has the linoleum floor in it.
Okay.
The word linoleum implies that it was made from flax oil and not from a petroleum product like we would use for modern day floor coverings. Notice that this is cut inlaid linoleum, and all these little pieces are glued onto a jute back, and it's pretty durable stuff because what we're walking around on right now is like 105 years old.
Wow, this is better than my kitchen, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, better than mine.
We're on the inside of the pay window here.
We're on the pay and outside of that pay window right now, and you notice, well, it's kind of hard to do this.
Yeah, we got a big safe here in the corner here.
Big walk-in safe, and that safe has the name of Mission Transfer Company on it. Now, Mission Transfer Company went out of existence when the 5 companies got together to become Union Oil Company. We see some other interesting things in here. We see a transition light. The one's pointing down are electric lights, and one's pointing up are gas lights. When the building was built, there were no utilities here in Santa Paula, but they knew they were coming, so they wired the building for electricity and also plumbed it for gas, for natural gas. Notice the fireplace, the second one that we've seen, with a different set of tiles and a different mantelpiece. And this is a accounting room for Mission Transfer Company, and these guys burnt the midnight oil.
Now, whose office are we looking at now?
This was the accounting room for Hardison Stewart Oil Company, and notice again the different fireplace, different mantel treatment, different set of tiles, and notice the
Another safe here.
walk-in safe.
Yeah.
This is the second one that's in the upstairs. There are 3 in the building. One's below the stairway down in the main hall. And notice this one says Hardison Stewart Oil Company. Want to look inside?
Can we?
Sure.
Sure, okay.
The main door is a combination locked door. The combination's been disarmed. It can't be locked now.
Ah. Okay. Oh.
And these doors are called day doors. They're a key lock door. You can see where the key went in there. These would have been kept locked during business hours. And inside you see some of the ledgers, the old ledgers from the archives of Union Oil Company down in Los Angeles. And on the right, down below here, you see the cash drawers where they kept their money.
I'm sitting here going over the books, and the phone rings, and now I get up to answer it.
This is inter-office communication, and you can see that the outside 2 of these little tubes have whistles in them. So if you want to talk to this guy, you blow his whistle. If you want to talk to that one, you blow his whistle. If you blew both of them, you'd have a conference.
I see.
The middle tube you speak through.
Early office equipment.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the apartment now?
This was an apartment that was used by a resident manager that Union Oil had. 2 of the principals didn't live here, and one of them left the company early on, so they hired a resident manager to look after their affairs here around Santa Paula. This was a living room, bedroom area, and as you go into the next room, when we get around to that, we'll see a kitchen dining area, and all the furnishings in here are 1920s and 30s. When I first worked for Union Oil Company, there was a resident manager here. And
He never got to leave work, did he? I mean, he was always here.
He was here all the time, I guess. Yeah.
Anyway, we're back down at the time card, the punch out. What is this thing called?
This is a time clock.
Time clock, right? And before we punch out,
Time recorder, I guess I should say.
Oh,
It's a
okay.
time recorder.
well, before we punch out, I want to thank you for giving us the tour here of the Union Oil Museum, and really appreciate it. You're a decent docent. I want to say.
This is my pleasure. I'm sure.
Okay, so where do I put my card now?
First, what you have to do is you got to get it from an in to an out.
Oh, yeah.
And there's lunch out, lunch in, night out. I guess that's what you're not coming back today.
No, I'm not coming back today. I'm through for the day.
We put it on night
Got
out.
my lunch pail and I'm going home.
And if you push the lever down, you get an out time on your card. Okay, you're out of here.
I'm out of here.
3:30 it says. So that's pretty close.
Pretty close, 3:30.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again. I really appreciate it.
You're certainly welcome. And like I said before, it's my pleasure. I worked in this building for a long time, and I just enjoy doing these things.
You do it very well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Shall we go? Well, we've had a really good time here at the Union Oil Museum. I hope you people have enjoyed yourselves as much as we have. This is Philip Scorza for Points of Interest.